You may not like it, but you're a millionaire funded by billionaires, and that's the reason why you're not talking about these issues.
But I am talking about these issues.
Yeah, only now. Come on, you jumped the bandwagon. You're all like, oh, I'm against the globalist elite, blah, blah, blah. It's not very convincing, to be honest.
Why don't you go yourself, you tiny brain, and I hope this gets picked up, because you're a moron. I tried to give you a hearing, but you were too annoying for me.
You can't handle the criticism, can you?
Well, guys, we did it. We're making a difference. And the first video ever published on this channel, entitled Tucker Carlson Show is a Trap. I explained why Tucker Carlson Show is a trap, and what you should do about it if you ever have the misfortune of appearing on his show. That video got almost 4 million views, and it seems that at least one of those views came from Dutch historian Rutger Bregman. My advice in that video was this: concede small details, stay calm, come prepared, don't get used by Tucker, and lastly, be unpredictable. Bregman is only the second guest I have seen employ these strategies perfectly, the first being the legend herself, Rochelle Ritchie.
Republicans were going to hurt anybody. I mean, it's pretty much exclusively Democrats that commit political violence. I think.
I don't know.
I've been watching pretty closely.
Look,
I've noticed mostly.
Donald Trump
have
is
you
the
seen
one
any
that
Republicans
talks about
hitting people in the face with bike locks recently,
well,
or is that?
let's think about this.
Left,
I
right?
do remember seeing people being punched in the face at Trump rallies, and I do remember him saying that he was going to pay their legal fees. That I do remember.
Huh. All right, Rochelle, great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I also said that Tucker is very sensitive and is probably easy to piss off. And Tucker didn't disappoint. Temper tantrums are a bit of a theme on Fox News.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a... I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
Be honest.
Why don't you go yourself, you tiny brain, and I hope this gets picked up, because you're a moron. I tried to give you a hearing, but you were too annoying for me.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live.
Why don't you go yourself?
Specifically, Bregman does 2 things well. The first is that Bregman answers questions very quickly, and then pivots to a different, but related subject. Bregman is proactive and doesn't merely react to what Tucker says. He stays on the rhetorical front foot. This actually takes a lot of preparation. It is harder to speak succinctly than to speak at length, especially when you do not know for sure what you will be asked. And doing so successfully, which Bregman does, suggests to me that he prepared lines ahead of time.
You know? I have, actually. I can't say I'm a great fan of your show, but I do my homework when you invite me on your show.
It is critical on Tucker's show that you don't spend a lot of time on background and get to the point immediately, so that way you can move on to something more important. You were at a disadvantage when you were invited on someone else's show. Preparation is one of the best ways to close this gap. But if you refuse to answer Tucker, he will shout over you. So it is important to give some kind of answer and not just ignore him, or change the topic to something that is more convenient for you.
But if you really believe what you're saying, and if Bernie Sanders really believes what he's saying, why is he flying on private planes? I mean, it's a sincere question.
So let's not get distracted from the real issue here.
The real issue. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to let you off that easily.
Yeah, deflect. That's what I'm going to do. Don't tell him we're deflecting.
Part of it makes me wonder, are you the first person ever to note that people are flying private to talk about global warming and that none of them mention tax avoidance? Has anyone ever said that before at Davos that you know of?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on Davos history, but it is a bit hypocritical, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And others have noted that. We've noted it on this show. We've just never gone to Davos and said it out loud as you did. So if I was wearing a hat, I would take it off to you. What response did you get?
I mean, they were not very happy with me, but I'm just I think, a random Dutch historian who's basically saying what everyone around the globe is thinking. You know, the vast majority of Americans, for years and years now, according to the polls, including Fox News viewers and including Republicans, are in favor of higher taxes on the rich. You know, higher inheritance taxes, higher top marginal tax rates, higher wealth taxes. It's all really mainstream. But no one's saying that at Davos, just as no one's saying it on Fox News, right? And I think the explanation for that is quite simple, is that most of the people in Davos, but also here on this channel, have been bought by the billionaire class, you know?
When Bregman gives a quick and clear answer and then pivots, he puts Tucker on the defensive. And it is apparent that Tucker is off balance when he is on the defensive.
Taxes. But very few
Well, not on this channel, is it? I mean, almost all of the pundits on this channel for years have been against higher taxes, right? Even though the vast majority of Americans is in favor of it.
I mean, I don't know. It would be interesting to know how many hours of Fox you've watched, but I'm interested in what...
Remember, Tucker has a reason for the guests he has on. It is to advance a specific message. When Bregman starts talking about something else, Tucker tries to steer him back because he isn't after a general discussion. He wants a specific point to be made for his audience. As the host, Tucker wants a predictable environment in which the interview follows an informal script, so that he can work his guest the way he wants. Bregman provides him no such predictability and forces Tucker to improvise. The other thing that Bregman understands is that an appearance on Tucker's show isn't an opportunity to trade your integrity for exposure. Tucker had Bregman on originally to discuss a comment he made about elites who oppose climate change but fly in private planes, as well as tax evasion.
This is my first time at Davos, and I find it quite a bewildering experience, to be honest. I mean, 1,500 private jets have flown in here to hear Sir David Attenborough speak about, you know, how we're wrecking the planet. And I mean, I hear people talk in the language of participation and justice and equality and transparency. But then, I mean, almost no one raises the real issue of tax avoidance, right? And of the rich just not paying their fair share. I mean, it feels like I'm at a firefighters conference and no one's allowed to speak about water.
This point on private planes is very sentimental and important for Tucker. Bregman agrees with Tucker that elites flying private is hypocritical. He also agrees that tax evasion is bad. But he doesn't spend much time on these issues, because what is there to talk about? Bregman instead turns to something they disagree on, and Tucker is caught off guard because it's off script. Bregman was supposed to agree with me, but now he isn't? Again, Bregman doesn't get used and is unpredictable, and this unpredictability mitigates Tucker's home field advantage and greater experience. And in the process, Bregman received more exposure from an interview that didn't even air than any guest that played along with Tucker's formula likely could have. I do have some criticisms of Bregman, though. Implying that Tucker is owned by the Koch brothers because he used to work with Cato in the past misses the fact that Cato supports higher immigration, which Tucker hates.
But I mean, you've been part of the Cato Institute, right? You've been a senior fellow there for years. You've been taking their dirty money. They're funded by Koch billionaires, you know?
And that Cato's immigration scholar, Alex Noverstay, is probably not allowed on Tucker's show anymore after his last visit.
Million people are living and working in this country using fake federal identification. They are not punished for that. You don't think they should be punished for it. I would be punished if I did it. Do you see the double standard? You defend the rights of people who aren't even citizens, and actual citizens like me would go to jail for it. Do you
I don't
see
think
why that might grate
native-born
on us a little
Americans
bit?
or foreign-born people should have to prove and ask the government for permission by showing a piece of paper to get a job. That's not what this country is about, is asking for permission, showing a government piece of paper.
Wait, slow down. How about fly on an airplane? How about operate a motor vehicle? Those require state government IDs. Should we get rid of driver's licenses too?
Well, some IDs are necessary to protect people if you're going to harm somebody.
Some IDs are necessary.
How does me working at a movie theater or working at a nursery damage other people like that? I mean,
but
I'm not sure about driver's licenses,
use
but
fake
when it
driver's
comes,
licenses. Okay.
Well, why do I have to ask permission from the federal government to get a job, Tucker? Why do you want me to do that? Where does it say that in the Constitution?
Why to
that I have
drive
to do
a
that?
car? Right.
That's on the state level.
I'm not going to.
That's on the state level,
Tucker. I don't want to argue with you about IDs. I'm just saying there's one standard for people here legally. They have champions like you, and American citizens don't. And that's annoying to normal people.
Every law that you want to use to punish illegal immigrants is going to be used against native-born Americans, too. I have to fill out these stupid forms whenever I get a job because nativists want me to be able to prove that I'm legally eligible to work in the United States.
Calling out Cato and the people that work for them was a little misguided. He also could have described Tucker's incentives more persuasively than simply saying he's bought out by the Kochs and Murdochs. Tucker's incentives rely mainly on anticipating his audience's views before they have them, and reassuring them that the views they already have are correct and that there is no need to reconsider them. Being paid millions to have certain views is probably more about preemptive pleasing than a straightforward quid pro quo, and involves predicting what his audience and his bosses will tolerate and appreciate, despite what he says about having total freedom on his show. I understand, though, that Bregman had limited time, and Tucker didn't take that long before he threw a tantrum and cut him off the show, which probably made bringing up additional points impossible. But by challenging Tucker, Bregman got more coverage and more exposure than Tucker's teamer guests. Bregman refused to be played, which was the most important suggestion made in my last video. Thanks for watching.